How does radar work? There are few greater joys than shouting rude words very loudly at a cliff. Not only do you get to hear yourself saying something that would shock your mother, bollocks is my favourite, but you also get to hear it a second time, and maybe a third or a fourth, because as the sound waves produced by your voice reach the surface of the rock face, they come bouncing back to you. This phenomenon obviously is an echo, and once you've substituted radio waves for sound waves, it also pretty much explains how radar works. See? Bollocks. Because, as you'll have noticed, if you stand further away from the cliff you're shouting at, then the noise will take longer to get back to you. Indeed, if you pick your location carefully to be different distances from a variety of cliffs, the same word will come back to you multiple times, from all over the place. Radio waves had barely been discovered before it was realised that, like sound or light waves, they too would reflect from solid objects. Initially, this was more of a problem than a solution. The shipboard operators of the early spark gap transmitters noticed that other vessels passing between them and the radio operator they were trying to communicate with caused interference. But it wasn't long before boffins realised the principle could be used to detect things, and the telemobiloscope was born. Okay, so the name didn't catch on. Radar appeared later as an American near acronym for radio detection and ranging. And although patents had been filed in 1904, nobody did much to develop radar for several decades. A French cruise liner being the first ship fitted with an obstacle locating radio system in the 1930s. It was the military that really spotted the potential of radar, with America, Britain, Germany and the Soviet Union all rushing to develop systems as things looked set to kick off in the 1930s. There were some obvious strategic advantages in being able to detect enemy ships and, especially, aeroplanes. The British chain home system didn't look like modern radar equipment, used a fixed antenna array to send out a wide beam of radar energy, with returns then read by receivers nearby. The time between the signal and its return, based on the known velocity of the radio waves, which is the speed of light, enabled distance to be worked out. And using multiple angled receivers and comparing the different returns on each one enabled both the position and height of the target to be roughly calculated. We almost certainly wouldn't have won the Battle of Britain without radar's ability to tell us where the Luftwaffe was amassing the dirty fuckers. Radar's utility was obvious, and more powerful systems were developed, including the familiar rotating array that pulses a signal and then listens for its return before pulsing another. But the principle remains the same. Shout, listen. Okay, there has been one big development, Doppler radar. This enables the system to detect the speed of a moving object without having to wait for two separate pulses to hit it and be bounced back, which in the case of a really fast-moving jet fighter or missile might take too long. This is where the Doppler effect comes in. This is the way in which the pitch of a wave changes according to the relative speed of the object it bounces off. It sounds complicated, but it isn't. Imagine you've installed a very loud mate a mile away and told him, the variation of our obscene echo experiment, to yell rude words at you for exactly a minute. His voice is carried at the speed of sound. Let's call it a nice round 600 miles per hour, meaning that 6 seconds after he starts screaming, the sound waves reach you, and 6 seconds after he's finished, the sound stops. Easy. But now we're going to install him on the back of a pickup truck, one so quiet you can only hear him shouting. The truck is travelling towards you at exactly 60 miles per hour, or to simplify the maths a bit, for anyone who drags their knuckles numerically, that means it will take him exactly 1 minute to complete the mile. He starts to shout as the truck passes the 1 mile mark and speeds towards you. As before, it takes 6 seconds for the first sound to reach you, and you'll also notice that his voice sounds a little bit higher pitched than usual, which you initially put down to him being a bit of a Jessie. 60 seconds later, the truck passes you, just as your mate finishes shouting. So what's happened? Because he's been travelling relative to the speed of sound, which is serving as an unbreakable absolute here, he's been shouting for a minute, but you've only been listening for 54 seconds. The sound waves have therefore been squeezed, their frequency increased. And as a Doppler radar knows the frequency of the radio wave it sends out, the velocity of which is limited by the unbreakable speed of light, it can work out, through the change in frequency coming back, whether the object detected is moving towards it or away from it, and at what speed. It's how police radar guns work. Of course, radar doesn't always work. If it doesn't find anything to bounce off, then it won't be able to give a return, which is how stealth systems work. And like any wave, it's possible to cancel it by overlaying it with the opposite wave, or jamming it. Should we save that for another time?